Hello class, Mr. Guarino here. In this video I'm going to illustrate how to draw a better cactus. So, previously we drew them with the pen tool and well, at least mine looked really bad. It's not going to be much better this time, but I'm just going to show you a different way to draw it and make it look a little better. So here's like just a plain old cactus with one color. So I called it Pretty Nice. And then here's cactus, even better. And so what I did was I added a black stroke to give it a nice detailed outline. And then I made darker colors on one side to give it sort of like a shadow effect. And then I was like, you know what? I always hate like just plain old white backgrounds. So then I went and added a background. I went on the internet, found a picture, put it in there, and then put my cactus in with all the other cacti or cactuses, however you say it. Obviously it stands out and you know that's been drawn and the others all just part of a picture, but so what? Sometimes it's fun to be silly. I mean, we may make an animation where we got some cartoon character running across the desert. And we know the desert's the real desert and the cartoon character is a cartoon character. It's okay. It's all part of the fun. So let's get started. Notice in this one, for whatever reason, I had these assets from some previous lessons, so I'm going to keep the stage size the same. It's 550 by 400. So I'm going to go to File, New. And it doesn't actually have one here in one of the presets, but you can always just put in over here the size you want. So 550 by 400. Leave it on 30, HTML5, and say create. And so now I have the same size stage as the other ones, just so it all looks the same. So the first thing I'm going to attempt to do is draw this cactus. So, I mean, I could just use this one, but I want to draw it. So I'm going to go over to my classic brush tool. And I have the green already set from before. You can change the size of your brush. That looks like about the thickness of the cactus. And so I'm just going to go up like this. That's a little too fat, isn't it? And I want to check this over here. We're going to use this later even more. But I want to make sure it's on paint normal because I've been fiddling with that. Alright, so this was a little too big. So let's make it maybe 25 and try that. Alright, maybe that looks better. So I got this coming up here. I have this going up. Maybe a little bump out here. And then I have this going up here. Notice when I let go it smooths it out because I have my smoothing all the way up. Let me put my smoothing down and you see it gets rigidity. I put my smoothing up. And you'll see when I draw this one, maybe it doesn't. I really can't tell. It doesn't look that much different. I think with the smoothing up, you can see it kind of does just blend it a little bit better. I think I just messed that up a little bit. So let me go to my eraser tool. And maybe just get rid of some of that I just went a little bit too much with. Okay. There we go. It's close. It's kind of like that. I know it's not exactly like that, but I have some branches and I can do my coloring. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my ink bottle tool, which is under my paint bucket tool. Click, hold down, ink bottle. Set the color to black. Click on the edge here. And now I have the black there. Now I want to paint that shadowiness. So I'm going to go back to my classic brush tool. But change the color. You could change it here or you could change it over here. I'm going to choose this darker green and make my brush somewhat smaller. You can see it in the center there. I think that's going to be good. I'm just going to go. Now here's where we're going to use this option over here. Right now the brush mode is normal. So go away. choose normal. So if I paint and I go like this and I go over the stroke, I mean, I've gone over the stroke, right? So that's no good. But it's kind of hard to go right up against that stroke and not go over it. So what you can do is you can click this and say paint fills only, because the green is a fill and the black is a stroke. You could also say paint inside. That's kind of like fills. Actually, I think works a little better. So now if I go here, whatever I click in, whatever color I choose to paint on, any other color I go over, it doesn't paint on. So I can click here like this and go, and if I go over the black, it cuts it back. So it doesn't paint anywhere other than the green that I selected to begin with. Now if I pick this dark green, you'll notice I can't go over the light green because it only wants to paint the dark green inside the dark green, which is kind of silly. Let me zoom in here because I can't see so good. There we go. Let me start on the light green and paint. So that's going to be my shadow there. And then the shadows are all on the left side, right? So I guess like this. It's a little bit too big. But notice if I go half off, it cuts off half of it because it won't go over the stroke. But I could make this a little smaller. And then paint this. And then paint this. So you don't have to be so precise, because if you go on the stroke, it comes off. So now I have my shadowy thing. Let me zoom back out. So there's my cactus. Sort of looks like my even better cactus. I guess I used the darker green this time. It's up to you. It just adds an effect. The other one looks better, I have to say. Well, what are you going to do? So now we want to add a background picture. So go back on this, and I've already found that on Google, and I want to download this and use it. So I searched, I found one. I clicked over here. Oops. And it shows me it over here. You don't want to save this because this may not be the full size. The full size is not much bigger, but it's always good to go view. And then on this, notice it says JPG, so I know I'm getting the actual picture, not some link to a website. So I right click and do save image as. Okay, so now it should be in that folder. So you see right here, Western Cactus Landscape. If I double click it, there's that picture. Now I want to get it into Animate. You can't do File Open. Open is for opening an Animate file. This isn't an Animate file. This is a JPEG. It's a picture file. So you have to do Import. And the two main options are Import to Stage or Import to Library. If you say import to stage, it actually puts it in the library and then automatically puts it on the stage, which oftentimes causes a problem because later in the course we may want to do something to it before we put it on the stage. So my habit and my preference is always just import to library. So I'm going to choose that. And I'm going to choose Western Cactus Landscape, say open. And then what happened? Well, it did exactly what I asked it to do. It put it in the library. But where is the library? The library's up here on this tab. You click library and you'll see Western Cactus Landscape. So there's a picture now as an asset in my project. And so I can just drag it onto the stage. I'm going to drag it on. I'm going to drag it over this way. And on purpose I did that. Actually, let me put it. Oops, I don't want to paint on it. That would be silly. I want to go back to my selection tool, move it over here. So you can see it's on top of the cactus. So obviously we want it in back of it. So I'm going to right click, arrange, send to back. And that didn't work for some strange reason. Right click, arrange, send to back. Oh, I know why. Because this is a shape. So I have to draw a box around this and go to properties and make it an object. We went over that in the last lesson. You can't arrange a shape with an object. So now you can see it's in the back. Because this was already set to the back, but shapes are always behind pictures and objects and whatever. So now that this is an object, this one's behind it. But I also want this to be the exact same size as the stage. So while this is selected, I go to my alignment tab, and if this is not checked, if you say, hey, I want this picture to be the exact same size as my stage, so I click match width, nothing happens. Match height, nothing happens. But if I say align to stage and I click match width, you'll see it makes it just as wide as the stage. Match height, it makes it as high as the stage. I could have clicked this button. It does them both at the same time, but I'm trying to illustrate. Then, of course, I want this top to be on top of that top, even with that top. So I can click this, align top edge. And then over here, align right edge. Now it's exactly on top of it. And it stretched it to be 550 by 400. So that should let you know when you find a picture, you do want it to be sort of close to the stage size. If it's off a little bit, it's okay because it'll resize. But if it's like way small, when it gets stretched, it can get blurry. If you were to choose this one, that would be bad because this is portrait and the stage we made was landscape. So the proportions are off. So you get something pretty close and it should work okay. As you can see here, it worked okay. And then the next thing we want to do is just resize this. So if we click on that and then press Q on our keyboard to get the free transform tool, hold down shift so we restrain our proportions, shrink this down a little bit, move it over here, and now we have a cactus amongst all our other cactus. And when you're all done, make sure you save it to your folder, file, and so now we're done. So in this video, we learned how to import something to the library, put it onto the stage, arrange it with other objects, not with shapes, because they don't arrange. We also added an outline after we drew something with the paintbrush and then tried to illustrate some shadowing. This edge over here looks pretty good to me, like a shadow. This one's probably too fat and too dark. But hey, you guys do your stuff. I saw one student in my class who worked on the avocado. His looked awesome. I was totally impressed and totally amazed. And that's why I don't waste a lot of time on these videos trying to make my stuff look good, because I'm not that good at it to begin with. Plus, I want you guys to just take my minimal amount of instruction and take it and run with it and make something even better. So impress me. Do something great. Thank you.